Years of airstrikes, cyber warfare, and proxy battles haven't worked. The overarching goal of forcing a regime change in Tehran has completely stalled out. The problem comes down to physical limits. Fighting from the sky means you can only destroy what sits on the surface. This cross-section shows exactly how Iran has countered those limits. They have dispersed their military infrastructure and buried their most critical nuclear facilities deep underground, well out of reach of traditional bombardments. Striking from the air has hit a dead end. Neutralizing that deeply buried nuclear and military core requires a physical occupation, and that means a massive escalation in tactics. In response to those physical limits, the United States is currently executing its largest military deployment to the Middle East in the last 20 years. The centerpiece of this armada is the USS Tripoli, a 45,000-ton mobile assault base capable of operating independently without a land-based port. It carries a massive payload, including F-35B stealth jets and amphibious landing craft designed to strike anywhere at a moment's notice. This specific hardware is built for one explicit strategy: boots on the ground. It is the direct injection of American soldiers straight onto Iranian soil. Moving tens of thousands of Marines into strike position crosses a geopolitical red line. This deployment signifies an active transition into a physical invasion. Once troops land, the primary objective is to physically locate, capture, and extract stockpiles of highly enriched uranium before Iran can achieve a nuclear breakout. This map of Iran's coastline illustrates the secondary objective. Iran uses a vast network of coastal missile batteries and drone launch sites to project power and threaten the surrounding waterways. A drone strike simply cannot clear these hardened installations. Neutralizing them requires precise physical seizure by ground forces. The ground invasion targets Iran's two most critical assets: its nuclear potential and its capacity for regional military projection. The boldest piece of the invasion blueprint focuses on the military occupation of Karg Island. Between 85% and 90% of Iran's entire oil export volume flows entirely through this single tiny geographic point. By seizing control of this terminal, the United States can instantly sever Iran's oil revenue, applying inescapable economic pressure. On paper, capturing Karg Island is a strategic checkmate that would financially decapitate the Iranian state overnight. But Iran is highly prepared to defend itself. They currently maintain 1 million mobilized fighters ready for a ground war. They have mastered asymmetric warfare, using unconventional tactics like fast-attack swarm boats, thousands of naval mines, and precision ballistic missiles to level the playing field against a larger force. This tactical map reveals the fatal flaw in America's plan for Karg Island. Occupying the terminal could easily trigger a massive military trap, leaving U.S. forces isolated, surrounded, and eliminated by these swarm tactics. The American strategic advantage could evaporate on contact, turning a calculated occupation into a lethal, inescapable meat grinder. There is a central paradox to this entire operation. The U.S. needs to keep the Strait of Hormuz open for global trade, but a ground invasion virtually guarantees Iran will violently shut it down. A closed strait means paralyzed international shipping lanes, millions of tons of stranded cargo, and maritime insurance premiums skyrocketing out of control. Energy experts warn that the resulting fallout could surpass the devastating 1973 global oil shock, creating an even larger combined economic catastrophe. A ground war in Iran simply cannot be contained to the Middle East. It will instantly scale from a localized military dispute into a paralyzing freeze of the entire global economy. The chaos in the Strait of Hormuz directly threatens massive, rapidly growing economies like India, whose very survival depends heavily on the uninterrupted flow of Middle Eastern crude oil. This flowchart tracks the resulting domestic chain reaction. A disrupted strait means immediate, brutal fuel inflation, crippled supply chains for local businesses, and a severe, unavoidable economic shock that hits the Indian middle class directly. America may be chasing a tactical military victory to secure its own interests, but developing giants like India will be the ones forced to pay the devastating economic price.